push the button, go.
E.T. to Lovecraft, they dish the facts. Lightsabers clash and case on their backs. Xenomorphs lurking, Gotham's dark alleys. With every episode, the fandom rallies. The first to last, the Nerdom with Mike and Tom. Dropping nerd knowledge like an atom bomb. Discussing the cosmic, the scary, the epic. Tune in, strap in, it's all real, authentic. Galaxies far, far, horrors, chilling lore. From Krypton to Hogwarts, always explored. Panels and pages, heroes and stages. Worlds colliding, they know all the phases. Wicked X-Wings and Daleks that scream. Phantom zones and vampire dreams. Multiverse open and ready to storm. Mike and Tom in the lab, setting the norm.
Yo, you
All
set
right,
the norm,
welcome.
Tom?
Welcome to the First to Last Nerdom, the podcast where we dive into all things nerdy from the first of its kind to the last remaining relic of fandom history. This week, we're taking a step into the eerie and atmospheric world of 1983's The Keep, a horror film that's long been shrouded in mystery, but has recently been triumphantly returned to the spotlight with the stunning 4K release from Vinegar Syndrome, a forgotten gem for many. The Keep is a chilling tale of supernatural forces, strange rituals, and the evil lurking within an ancient fortress. Directed by Michael Mann, this film has gained a cult following over the years thanks to its unique blend of horror, fantasy, and the haunting score by Tangerine Dream. Now, with its fresh 4K restoration, it's time to revisit this eerie classic and discover what makes it so beloved despite its troubled release history. So grab your salt and silver and prepare to enter the Keep, a world where dark forces and ancient evils collide and where the horror of the unknown is only just the beginning. Let's get into it. Hey, Mike,
Absolutely.
how are
Hey.
you doing?
Great. Thanks for that wonderful intro. And I also might add, you made our latest theme song. And if the people out there would like to hear the other version, we will happily release that and whatnot. But I did want to say thank you, Tom, for being so patient and doing this show. This is the third take. We had a little bit of kill the gremlins, find the gremlins, stomp one, and two more would pop up, so to speak. But we're definitely in gear here, full speed ahead with the Keep. Very excited. Even though we're talking about this, I think that we get better the more times we do something, obviously. But Michael Mann, you picked this one out this week. I wanted also before I hand it over back to you to do the plug-in, I want to shout out to the person who let us know that we had an audio problem when we released this yesterday. Thank you so much for doing that, and I will I want to highlight that, and I'll put you at top billing in our show notes to say as a thank you. Hopefully you'll see this again. But thank you for doing that. But I'll turn it back over to you here to explain what we're doing here, what the hell this thing is.
It's great that we got the tip off there, and it shows us that people actually watch us and enjoy us. So shout out to all of our devoted people. But if you're a first time viewer here, pulled in by the Keep, and see what we're going to say about it, we are the First to Last Nerdom. We cover all things horror, fantasy, sci-fi, comic books. We cover everything that's nerdy. And in fact, anything that weird collections. We had a friend come on our show to talk about his VHS collections. We're just fascinated by anything within the nerd sphere. And then last week we covered Nosferatu, which interestingly enough, the Keep has some interesting ties to it thematically and things like that. So we'll get into it. And then the previous week we covered Krampus, that little gem there, but we have all sorts of stuff in our back catalog. I also kind of cover our stuff on Reddit. Anytime I kind of jump in. I try to promote our stuff there on a subreddit that will have us. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they gatekeep and won't let us promote. But those that do let us, hey, how are you? The Nosferatu film subreddit was very generous to us, and then Film Noir. So all of you guys out there in the Reddit land, we appreciate you. Because I know some of it can be a toxic atmosphere sometimes. So we appreciate the kindness that we get from there. Also, I run our X account, and both Reddit and the X account is under at FirstLastNerdom, and my latest post was about A24. My buddy here, Mike, he got me a free subscription to A24. It's an awesome membership. They give you free movies every month.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that they have out there that's in the theater, they give you a movie for free. And also, they I think 10% off on the store and whatnot. And they give you a little package there to start off with your membership. And I received that, and that's my little picture there of it. You get a little puzzle book and a little postcard, a little pin as well, and they gave me a scratch off that turned out to be expired, which I was a little grumpy pants about because I'd won a little bit of money on it, and also when I went on the website, I was going to order some stuff that my hasn't applied yet. And so I sent off a nicely worded email to A24. Wasn't going to put them on blast just yet. Let them fix things, and they fixed my membership, and they fixed my scratch off. They fixed that and got me my discount. So and my gift card. So props to A24 and props to Mike for getting me into the ecosystem of A24.
Well, it is all my pleasure, my friend. Good things that we like to share together, and some things that we've stumbled on and learned over the last 3 years, going into third year, or we've done three. We're going into year four, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I had to check myself on that. So we're going into our senior year, so to speak. If it were college, we would be well on our way. But we've stumbled across A24, one of our better videos, or probably best videos organically that we did was Everything Everywhere at Once, which was A24, as well as some other ones that we've covered over the years. But yeah, it's just a great thing. So shout out to them. So go check out A24 and their membership. Maybe it's for you, maybe not. I don't know. If you like good movies, they're not pinned to one genre. They do everything. So that's very awesome. I'm also. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
One last thing about A24. I was watching another video. I think his YouTube name's Planet CHH. I think it is, but he was mentioning that the A24 they're starting to put their Blu-rays and 4Ks out in Walmart. He
That's
actually
cool.
picked up the Midsummer release of their Blu-ray there at Walmart. So I think it's like the bigger Walmarts, but just
Very
another
cool.
thing about
Super
A24. But
Center.
yeah, you
Yeah.
do have your socials as well.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yes, I am also on X. So if you want to strike up a conversation, more than likely you're going to be able to find me and Tom on there. If not, just leave a comment on our YouTube channel. Love to have feedback and talk to the folks out there who routinely show up and watch our stuff. If you have any suggestions, we're always open to it. Or tell us where we're wrong, tell us where we're right, or tell us what you want to see more of us cover. But I'm available there at ApeIt, APEIT_INK. Also available on my publication, which is just my little fun part of the internet, like where I like to do longer form articles, longer form content, some cool things, entertainment, history, that kind of thing. Things that don't fit on the main channel for the Nerdom thing. Although we have pretty wide latitude, and we have expanded that over the years to go to horror. Yep. And then we also recently did noir, which I'm very happy to do. But
yeah, and it did quite well for our channel as well.
Absolutely.
We got some views. And just to talk about the elephant in the room, yes, my one of the cursed things that happened yesterday was my RGBs died. So
Mm,
we held a funeral for it. We
how
we
about that?
we held an extended funeral for it, but we won't recreate that.
Yeah.
That'll just have to go away.
Yeah, and then the audio thing, and then this thing, whatever. Anyway,
That thing,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah,
So,
my warm water wasn't working. I had to take a cold shower yesterday. So yeah,
oh,
and
that's
also
right. Yeah, you get the tepid water. Yeah.
tepid water shower. Yeah, wasn't good. So, and also I think we need to crack open the uh, uh
Boomer
boomer juice
juice.
here to get everything started. I think that was one of the problems of our second take.
Yeah, reach out. Beverage companies, reach out to Tom. Your sales will never be higher. I promise you that. Uh,
Monster horror, it works out.
yeah, but
All
I
right,
did. I did want to take a moment there to kind of, because we've talked about Vinegar
circle
Syndrome
back.
and other or I don't know what you call them, studios. We'll just call them studios that like to buy the print or the rights to it and then reprint them, repress
Mhm.
them, whatever you want to call it. Vinegar Syndrome. We've covered a few different movies over the years, at least a couple
Yep.
that I can recall.
Our
And
big one was New York Ninja,
it
which
was
was awesome.
it was awesome.
uh,
It was all kinds
yep.
of great. But that's where you can find what Thomas was talking about earlier on, and you can still get it in either the slipcase edition or the standard. Which I think I
No,
agree
no,
with you.
you can't get it on the
Well, not right
slipcase.
now. Not right now. No,
That's
sold out.
sold
You're
out.
right.
That
You're
was
right. Right.
limited edition. That's gone.
Right.
But yeah, the that and the standard actually sold out over Black Friday. Although they have since got some more standard editions. I don't know if they found them or if they printed a few more. But yeah, so but don't sit on it. We're gonna be talking about, this video is gonna blow up, and people are gonna go out and buy them. So you gotta get don't sit on it. These are unlimited supplies. So
Right.
and then also I did hear Imprint's gonna do their own version of, and they're also a boutique store that sells
Right.
that gets the rights and prints them. But I think there'll be different extras. I'll be talking about the extras that are on this Blu-ray extensively on this show, because there's some really cool stuff on there, and I found some cool information out about the movie. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if you're into physical media, even if you're not, and you're just kind of curious what it's all about, and you have like a PlayStation 5 or a Xbox Series X, you've got maybe a 4K player on there, depending. I know on some of the newer PlayStations and Xboxes, they're removing the disk drive, which is a tragedy. But
Right.
yeah, if you do have the disk drive on those, you have a 4K player, so
Mm-hmm.
you can start your collection with the Keep. But
Absolutely.
I think we're ready to get into it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
1983, the Keep, as you saw on our thumbnail, it's Ancient Evil versus the Nazis. If you haven't seen it yet, the Nazis are invading Romania, and they're setting up shop, and they find this keep, and they go, "Hey, a great place to store our tanks and hang out here." And the little greedy Nazis, they see all these silver crosses lining this keep, and they unleash an ancient evil into the world. And so it's this battle between Nazis and ancient evil. Who do you root for? Who do you want to die more? But it's made by Michael Mann, who the writer director. It's based off of the book by F. Paul Wilson of the same name, The Keep. And yeah, it's Michael Mann's probably best known for Heat, Manhunter,
Mm-hmm.
Last of the Mohicans, Collateral, but he also did the Miami Vice TV series a little bit after this movie. But he's known for being a stunning visual stylist. I know
Mm-hmm.
you're a big fan of the Last of the Mohicans, Mike.
Oh yes, yeah. I love Last of the Mohicans. That is one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it has everything. Also, of course, Heat. Who doesn't love Heat?
Mhm.
And some other ones. And he
And
before he
and Crime
became
Story, Crime Story is a great great show as well. But yeah, go
Oh,
ahead. Sorry.
yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Manhunter 2 also that he has been at the helm or the start of a lot of things that became much bigger, or if not outright cultural touchstones that actually defined a whole decade, if not a couple decades. He did it with Miami Vice. Great stylist. Absolutely. On the he has a unique way. Thief was his first movie. I haven't seen that. I did buy that, and I know you haven't seen it either. But anyway, going back to this thing, great director. This is kind of a unique kind of movie to like where you see when things don't quite go to plan. So when you do that, maybe maybe you distract with a little bit more smoke. You throw a little bit more smoke in there. Maybe you throw in a little bit more yelling and shouting in a chaotic scene. And just crank the volume up a little bit. But we'll get into, not only did the Keep give us gremlins, did we catch a case of the gremlins, but they had their own, which we'll get into here. But but it kind of pointing back to the center. I absolutely want to check out that book, that series of books. I believe you alluded to before when we did this before. But Michael Mann is a tremendous talent. And if there's a secondary or tertiary thing that we're about here on the Nerdom, it is finding really good directors. And we've done that number of times, and we run into them more often than not. And that happens if you're into cinema as it goes. So I love that you found this and that we could experience it. I had never seen it before. When you picked this one out this week, and I know you've got this guy, and then you got it, and then hey man, let's watch this. So here we are.
Yeah, and it kind of there's a bit of serendipity to that because the book again, Paul Wilson. It's Ancient Evil, although it has a bit of a vampiric cast to it. The character's kind of described more like a vampire, although he's not really.
Right.
And also it's a part of a series of books. So if you see The Keep, if you watch it and want to know more about the story, the plot of The Keep of the movies pretty much stays pretty close to the book. So if you're left wanting to know more, you want to know what was going on in that movie, pick up the book, and then it's part of the Adversary cycle, which I think has 7 books to it. So there's a lot more to it there. And again, there's the vampire kind of tie to it, which kind of ties us to our previous movie that we talked about last week, Nosferatu.
Yes.
Both are kind of have a Carpathian horror that we're in this in Nosferatu. They go to Transylvania, and The Keep they go to Romania, and also both movies have both directors were influenced by German Expressionism. Nosferatu, of course, is a remake of the 1922 version of Nosferatu that was German Expressionism by F.W. Moreau, I think is his name, Marino. And
right.
Also, Michael Mann was very much influenced by German Expressionism and actually had the crew watch Faust by that same director. So both have that influence of German Expressionism with the sharp shadows and light and the interplay of that. But which we've neglected German Expressionism on our channel. We may have to dip back into the 1920s with the original Nosferatu. I was talking to Mike about maybe covering the previous Nosferatu movies, but it's kind of interesting that these two movies kind of have parallels with each other. With the German Expressionism.
Yeah, I was going to say you hit everything up. The 20s, the silent horror. You had the architecture, the world building that was in Nosferatu is very much on play in the Keep. Although, albeit not as intense or as complete, that is one of the things that Michael Mann did and nailed pretty well. And I think that he actually influenced a lot of other directors that came, big and small. No doubt, from the scene, the set pieces and whatnot were pretty pretty fantastic. Like we first kind of got in there. They're in the mountains, they're in Romania or wherever, old country, they're in the old country, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And, they have the villagers there, and very different aspects of like Frankenstein even, and Dracula and Nosferatu, as you just laid out. But they also have it definitely feels like the 80s, the early 80s, in a good way, because you have the Nazis, which are a classic. Who doesn't hate the Nazis, like as the bad guys, but they don't just do it in the way that you would expect, because this was years before a lot of other properties. But it pulled me in, and it had such a unique overlap there with the Nazis, and then you had this thing with the occult, and good and evil and ancient evil, not just evil but ancient evil. And I'll leave it off to you. Drive the bus.
Yeah. It is a period piece set during World War II, but it starts off, and we're like you said, we're rolling into with our tanks into Romania with the Nazis, and the music is by Tangerine Dream, which is an electronic band, which kind of throws you off. You're like, okay, so it gives you like you said, a distinct 80s vibe with the music. Definitely, although it really gives you the music score. A lot of times it's less music and more atmosphere to it as well, which plays in quite nicely with the visual style that Michael Mann gives this movie. And also the commentary track on the movie that I watched, by I forget his name. I keep having to look it up here. Matthew Aspergier, but he mentions one of the things that kind of dates a movie is the soundtrack, and also the hairstyles of the women in it, which in this movie we may get into it. The female character definitely has kind of a 80s hairstyle
Very
to this
much so.
movie. Kind of sticks out a little bit, but but maybe in a good way. And but
I
yeah,
think
it's
so. Yeah.
it is a flawed masterpiece. That was going to be I was kind of juggling between ancient evil versus Nazis or flawed masterpiece question mark
Right.
for our thumbnail. Because yeah, it started off after they finished it and all. Michael Mann's original cut of it was 3.5 hours long, and
Hmm.
the studio says nope, it has to be at least cut down to at least 2 hours. And they did a test screening of the 2 hour version of it, and
Right.
it did poorly. So then the studio took it out of Michael Mann's hands and cut it down to a 96-minute version, which is what we get on the Blu-ray. Unfortunately, an extended cut does not exist. It's mainly because Michael Mann hasn't gone through and done a cut for it. But
Right.
also, I think that there's some complications in the rights. There's like a little
Hmm.
cue card at the beginning of the movie here on the 4K that mentions the troubles and the reason why they couldn't do the extended version of it. However, hopefully with the release of this movie and the excitement about it and it selling out like it did, maybe that'll stir up the interest of and maybe spur people into maybe getting a extended version of this movie out there to us. And
Yeah, I was.
also, yeah, Mike dug this up. Greg Nicotero is trying to do it again, right? The
Yeah,
remake.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe, and he is of good fame. He's known for doing quality work as well. But long story short, this has been rolling around. My research here when we were doing this for the show, I saw some talk about it in 2022, and then this one is from 2023, last year October, or excuse me, 2 years ago, in 2023, because we were 2025. But yeah, so this seems it seems to be on the bubble. So maybe it'll pop. I don't know. We'll see. But I would welcome that. I think that most people would, as long as you do the best level, assuming best level effort from studio with at least a decent budget. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool. And of course, it obviously has made it of some fame because, I mean, we're decades later for a dead film that would normally be a dead film. Maybe stick it up in the closet somewhere, Michael Mann's career, and like just don't touch it ever again. The different directors are kind of funny how they react. Some want their name struck from it, as others embrace it. I think you become a better director if you can embrace it, and even though it's bad. So it shows that there's something out there for this idea, this concept. It is very, very much valid, and it was a joy to kind of watch this from the perspective of watching an older film. I had my issues with it, which we'll get into, which is, you touched on it, which is the running time. I think we both kind of our both things are, maybe if it would have been 120 minutes, that probably been maybe 15 minutes longer. That probably would have been a good length. 210 I think would be too long, but 96 was too short. It was too short, and because of that, it felt disjointed at worst. You still got the set pieces and the I love the world building. I always love that. I love that how you can let the either the music also is very good, even though it's very synth heavy and in 80s, it works very well for me. But anyway, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, no, I think the only obviously it was kind of bombed at the box office. Only stayed about 2 weeks, and then went to videotape, and kind of had a life there. Also, there is the they did do, back in the day, they would do television versions edits. And they actually added a few extra scenes. They actually added the happy ending to the movie on it. And then there was also a Laserdisc version, and then radio silence. They didn't come out with any additions really until now with the 4K. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of amazing that there's been this kind of this desire for this movie that's kind of built up over the years to where it could sell out. It's the little movie that could, there's something there, even though it's flawed, and I think the second half of the movie suffers the most from all the cuts that they did. There is still something there. There's and also I think obviously we haven't seen the extended version, but I don't think Michael Mann goes in too much into the explanation on what's going on in the movie. He kind of leaves it much more kind of up in the air, but it does he kind of focuses on the atmosphere and building, but I think you lose a lot of, with the cuts, you lose a lot of the interplay between the characters that you kind of need. And also, it's kind of a wonderful kind of thing with this movie is this interplay between the ancient evil and the Nazis. It's like, who do you who do you root for? At the very beginning of the movie, it's just the Nazis, and you're like, oh geez,
Well,
you're kind of fascinated by what's going on. You're not like you're not like, oh no, I don't want that to happen to him. You want it. You're like, yeah, get him.
Right. Well, it's funny how they introduced that too, because they do show a couple scenes here, like where as you kind of see this thing, this creature, this evil presence. At first, it's just kind of ether. It's just very voluminous and out there, and not quite solidified. It's very spread out, and then you kind of see as they introduce this to you. They introduce it in a very way, and Nazis, they don't just talk about regular your garden variety Nazi. They're talking about SS, and they're talking about the death camps and the concentration camps and things, all the things that happened during WW2 and all this thing, and then this evil, this thing here kind of comes into the picture, and it kind of gives you the false impression that it might be a force for good. But just because somebody bad does a good thing doesn't mean or negate the fact that it's bad. So anyway, it kind of puts you in this moral ambiguity very quickly, and you're like, well, and then they introduce this, this creature here, this golem type creature later on. He is enraged to hear about there's people that are committing evil like he would, and it
kind of showing him up, right?
Well, it's one of the wonderful things that this movie touches on, like where this there's some greatness here, you can, or at least some very deep things, because then your mind kind of goes into, what kind of a movie would that be? Like if they unleash this, and then what would happen if it did, go and kill all the Nazis or the whatever? Like, what kind of a movie would that be? That would be crazy. But anyway, it paints a great picture for you to kind of fill in the spaces. Unfortunately, there's some big gapping disjointedness there as the movie goes on, but for the most part, it introduces some very interesting things in a different way that you're probably not even modern films I don't think they've kind of come up to that outside.
And one of the things I love about the beginning of the movie, there's a lot of strong stuff at the beginning, but usually it's those goofy teenagers, they're stumbling along and they accidentally release this ancient evil, and the rest of the movie, they're getting stalked by this evil. But in this one, it's the Nazis, and they're a couple of the greedy Nazis are trying to get the silver crosses out, and it leads into this beautiful scene. It really kind of took my breath away when the Nazi he kind of crawls into this little crawl space to get to a little bit more silver, and it kind of blows open into this vast cavern, and there's like this long extended shot going from him at the very top of the cavern, and it kind of expands out and expands out, and you get to see these little totems like Stonehenge or something with these columns, and then the smoke kind of appears, and it shoots off to him up in the corner there, and it's wonderfully done. It's I was really taken by that that scene, and there's several other scenes in this movie that are just goes beyond the budget, and it really kind of shows off things. But yeah, it just shows that is masterfully kind of directed by Michael Mann, and he's using everything that he has available to him to kind of pull all of that stuff off.
Well, not only that, but that also extends into the and I know it's 1983, but they still did pretty good special effects and practical effects, which we both love. In films that we kind of treasure a little bit more because you don't see that, because everything's CGI, which is fine and it can work too. But I also liked how it kind of left things nebulous a little bit. So I was talking about that moral ambiguity that goes in its favor, but it also kind of plays with these concepts, like where you're not really spending too much time on that. And I think it with the details of like what this is, and it's buried like that because as the creature is coalescing, you also are along for the journey, and they pull it off in some aspects, and then it kind of falls apart other places. But for the most part, you're engaged. Now, sometimes at some point, there's also romance in here. there's also like a third party that becomes this, you're not quite sure who the hero is, you're not quite sure who the, who the antagonist is, you presume, besides the Nazis, but it's just very interesting how they introduce those things to you. Sometimes backing in a little bit hard, hitting the curb, other times pulling in nice and smooth.
Yeah, there's not a lot of black and whites. There's a lot of grays, as you said. Yeah, the protagonist, the hero of the piece, Scott Glenn, who kind of shows up. There's like this mystery on the keep of who's the Nazi shows up, and the caretaker's there, and he's asking, well, who pays for you to do the upkeep on this? Because I don't know.
Right.
I just get paid. The village just gets paid to take care of things.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
when
It's
the
my father's
evil,
father and father's father. Yeah,
yeah, yep, yep. And so when the evil wakes up Molazar, he awakens Scott Glenn's character Glaken.
yeah.
He wakes up as well. It's like, what the hell's going on? And he has to come back to check on things. But yeah, none of that's really kind of explicit.
No.
But that you kind of pick up that throughout the story there. But yeah, he's sort of like the hero of the piece, although he's not kind of shown in a kind light. He's not, he doesn't, he doesn't show up with in white, and it's like, hey, I'm here to save the day. It's he's more mysterious and kind of cold, kind of a cold character, which makes it kind of a cold movie. The people that you immediately kind of your heart goes out to are the Jewish father and
Hmm.
daughter that shows up, that
Right.
they that may know a little bit of what's going on here. They're brought in by the Nazis, and it's like, you help us or die, basically. In which the Jewish father's played by Ian McKellen. I had hard trouble uh figuring out that that was Ian McKellen without his
Right.
Gandalf beard I'm used to seeing that. And also he's quite young. That was kind of throwing me off as well. I'm used to the older Ian McKellen. But there's some great actors in this. You got Gabriel Byrne, like I said, Scott Glenn, and Jürgen Prochnow. Jürgen's usually plays like the bad guy, and in this one he is playing a German officer, but he's the most relatable. He's kind of a tortured soul. He
Hmm.
knows that what the Nazis are doing is bad, but
Hmm.
and he's trying to maybe shine a little bit of light where he can within the thing. So he's kind of a tragic character, in that he wishes for a better world, but he knows it's he's kind of stuck in his lot in life, and
Right.
maybe he doesn't have the backbone to stand up to things. And Gabriel Byrne, who usually plays the nicer character, he plays the head officer of the SS that shows up to snap everything into order, and kill as many villagers as he can, uh, to get them in line, because he thinks there's a village insurrection going on,
Right. Right.
as opposed to an ancient evil. He doesn't believe in this ancient evil that Jorgen is kind of saying is going on here.
Yeah, the from Ian, I think I mentioned Ian's. He didn't do a terrible job, but it also didn't quite get. I don't think we get the full benefit of him from this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
he doesn't have the gravitas that he
not
does in
not
his
like he
later career.
right, like he normally would. And that's not necessarily his fault at all. It's just well, for one thing, you went through three different versions, probably four different versions of this film that could have happened because of all the things that went on. And like we kind of mentioned, there were some gremlins here. And some
Mhm.
of that it unfortunately they got the best out of Alberta. And actually, to argue, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit. We probably could have got a little bit more screen time for a little bit more justice for her character and for Scott Glenn as well.
Yeah,
And,
yep.
and there's also a couple other people that you wanted to see a little bit more of, and we would have got that in Michael Mann's version for sure. But the
Mhm.
way that it was cut down, it didn't feel like they were giving us Ian's best. And we know that he
Yeah.
is. Nobody came up here short for lack of talent at all on this film,
Mhm.
at all. But
Yeah.
which is another unique way that like all these people could kind of figure out how to weave all this stuff in. But it's just very good to see
Yeah.
where it worked, and wish we could see a little bit better from him.
Absolutely.
From here.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, the interplay between the female character, the Jewish daughter, Alberta Watson, who plays Ava, Ava and Glaken, which Scott Glenn, they're sort of a romance there, although it's cut down to the point where they meet and then they're having sex. So it's sort of
Boom.
like, okay, boom, yeah, boom goes the dynamite. So yeah, there's obviously in Mann's version, there's a little bit more of a
Heat.
romance that happens, and her character just kind of gets kind of reduced to sort of a exposition and sex scene, and she's sort of like a witness to all of it, and unfortunately she gets the probably the bad end of the deal because
Well, I'll add on to that
in the
because what the part that I was talking about, the moral ambiguity, she kind of is a plot device, unfortunately, as it goes. So unfortunately, yeah. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, and there is an interview with the writer F. Paul Wilson on the Blu-ray release from Vinegar Syndrome, and he goes into his thoughts on the book is that she's sort of like the main character of his book. She's sort of like the driving force in it, and that obviously doesn't really play out in the movie, but yeah, so if you're kind of fascinated by her character, definitely check out the book, because that kind of plays it out a little bit better. And the thing that does shine through, that does work amazingly well, is Jürgen Prochnow, Nazi officer, and Gabriel Byrne's SS officer. Their interplay and their conversations in the movie are fascinating. I found those really riveting, and really kind of shows off what the movie has in its bank. So if it could have played out to the full extent, it could be a masterpiece. Because yeah, their conversations are amazing, with them kind of playing both sides of the coins of being in this evil Nazi regime,
Right.
them trying to kind of justify who they are within the mechanics of that world.
Right.
Just their conversations are really fascinating to me.
Yeah, and in their worldview, obviously might makes right, and they just see
Mhm.
everything as a nail, and
Mhm.
they're a hammer, and they're gonna hammer down, whether they didn't care. It's the tyranny of evil that's there, but little do they know that there is one that's lurking just around the corner, and they just totally blow it off. They don't care. They don't. Nobody has a brain except for the interplay there with these two, like where they're like, hey, maybe we should think about this for a little bit, just for a little, like maybe a few seconds, maybe. And they're like, nope. And the other thing too is, you naturally, I love this too. This goes to how Michael Mann, I think, draws you in as a stylist, at least for this. You're presented. It's World War II. It's wartime. So of course, what do you think of when you have a war? Fortress. You think of a bastion, a castle, a base, or whatever, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like their thinking is that, of course, the Nazis were greedy, and they would just pillage everything, and that's some of the things that they did, and this the could have happened, presumably in the real world with this,
Hmm.
this cinematic world that
Yeah.
we're getting, but it's a little bit more extra. You get that, and you kind of, it's kind of a beautiful thing to kind of see the natural, the everybody has kind of a natural gravity to them, to what they're doing, and the normal people have decency, right? So they have
Yeah.
some kind of decency or thinking outside of themselves for others around them, and that's
Mhm.
very interesting how the interplay. This could have absolutely been a masterclass, a masterpiece for sure. So
Mhm.
maybe one day we'll get lucky, and Michael Mann will have he'll have the itch. Maybe, probably not, but it would be great to see this redone, writ large, with modern
Mhm.
sensibilities,
Yeah.
not there, but maybe more modern techniques and science behind the film
Yeah.
making. Like
Yeah.
just the special, they did the best they could with what they had for the special effects, but for the most part they
Yeah.
worked. I mean, they look kind of dated,
Mhm.
but
Well,
it's a
as it,
fortress, and it's not so much what's keeping people out as it's kind of setting the pace for like what this thing is.
Absolutely. Yeah, the talking going back to the cursed nature of this movie, the special effects
Oh yeah,
supervisor,
yeah.
Wally Vivers, unfortunately he died right before post-production. So all the shots that he made, and he didn't unfortunately have a blueprint done up
Mm,
to
no
what his
notes.
plans were for the special effects. So they had Michael Mann and some of the other special effects people came in to try to fix and do what maybe Wally was prepared to do. They had no idea what he was going to do, so they kind of did the best that they could do. And a lot of the shots, there was supposed to be like this epic battle between the two evils, or the evil and the Scott Glenn character at the end. There was going to be this big battle, and a lot of that got unused, maybe for time, but also maybe they didn't know how to piece together what Vivers had put together. And so yeah, the big battle at the end kind of suffers greatly. However, I would point out the special effects designer Nick Maley, who does do an interview on the Blu-ray as well. He talks about um his experience, and most of the people are talking very highly of Michael Mann, although Maley maybe had a little bit of trouble with him. He kind of talks about how, special effects people in Hollywood, it's sort of like a plumber having to
Mm.
deal with people coming off the street saying, do it this way, no, this way, whereas the plumber knows how to fix your pipes, but someone comes on in off the street and say, what if you use peanut butter in there? It's like, no, that's not going to work. uh he was talking about how that's kind of sort of how the things work with special effects in Hollywood. You have your director and various people asking for things that aren't possible,
And
that will not work.
yeah, and at that point in Michael Mann's career, he absolutely would have had a point of expertise over what Mann had, even at that point in time, because he was very early in his career. Before
Yeah.
he kind of hit his stride and made his name
Mhm.
for being that stylist that he is
Yeah.
known for. We love him for as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, and he wasn't locked in on how he wanted the evil creature Malazar to
That
be.
comes
He kept
through,
changing,
right?
like the final phase. He's like this blacker than black golem. Although at one point he was actually painted silver, and they had to redo some of the shots because they had to repaint him as black. So yeah, he was kind of he kept changing. And the first the as the evil kind of becomes more and more solid as its power grows, it's kind of interesting. The creature kind of goes through these three distinct phases. The first is like his circulatory system. You can see that in his brain, within this cloud of smoke. And I think I really like that version. What they did is they kind of rigged up this brain that lit up red, and then the kind of the arms of the circulatory thing, and then they had these smoke machines, and they kind of filmed it in reverse, so it looked like the smoke was going up into the creature. And I thought that was very, very effective. I really enjoyed that. And then the second one was sort of a he's sort of kind of becoming more solid, but you can see the muscle and whatnot within him. And then the final version is, he's this completely black kind of stoic kind of creature, which he's performed by Michael Carter, played Malazar, and you may know him also from Return of the Jedi. He played Bib Fortuna, and they kind of got him for this role because they knew he would be all right in prosthetics, since he went through the prosthetic heavy Star Wars movie. So yeah, and there's also an interview with him on the Blu-ray as well, and he had nothing but kind words to say about Michael Mann.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I think that goes to show that there were definitely they marked out good four corners for a good foundation. So they had everything there. It just kind of things kind of went off kilter, and their gremlins kind of ate them alive. And I think
Yeah,
Michael Mann did step in to do some of the visual effects after Wally had passed. just to get the thing
Mhm.
done. But again, didn't quite know what he was going for here or there. No notes, so you kind of lose that continuity that you just take for granted in all these wonderful movies that we've had before. Superman, Star Wars, Kroll, even Kroll. I mean, even like lower tier, I guess. Clash of the Titans. I remember that one. I saw that one. Also, that's a fun one. Actually, I'm surprised we haven't. Anyway, that maybe we'll have to have a Greek week or something like that, or a Greek month or whatever, where we cover that. But another idea. Actually, let me write that down. But anyway, no, I agree. I really like. I actually agree with you. I like because you can very visually see him becoming a creature again. I don't know what to call it. I kind of call him a golem, because he's this thing that is indestructible and you can't kill him. There's a certain kind of way that you have to deal with that, which they don't really spend too much time on. It's just kind of like hand wavy and smoke and there's a what looks like a flashlight with wings on it. I don't know, but it kind of falls off a cliff a little bit for the disjointedness there, but still a good fun ride, especially to kind of see like where, go watch Heat and then go watch this, or go watch a whole bunch of original Miami Vice, and then kind of come back to this and kind of see the style change. And that's one thing that I want to applaud him for. He's not locked into just one thing, unlike some other ones like Rian Johnson, or what's the guy's name? Michael Bay, with the lens flare. They kind of get they kind of get put into a box. J.J. Abrams too, but anyway, Michael Mann still has talent, and I love his work. I know you do too.
And people forget he brought Hannibal Lecter into the world with Manhunter.
Yep.
He did the first adaptation of Red Dragon as Manhunter, with Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter, which I would say is my favorite Hannibal Lecter. I know it may be controversial. Everybody loves Anthony Hopkins, but I think Brian Cox did a much better job as Manhunter. How say you, audience? No, but yeah, it's he's very in the 80s. Michael Mann had a very keen sense of style and look, and and this movie kind of brought in like the smoke and the neon lights and whatnot, which goes into effect very well in like the episodes of Miami Vice and Manhunter, both very stylish and both very good. But yeah, if you're kind of wondering what could have been with the Keep, watch Manhunter. I mean that's a solid classic movie that I absolutely love. Maybe we'll cover that in the future. I know we haven't really done much of Michael Mann stuff, but I think we maybe we're kind of holding off because we want our we're still getting our wings under us. We want to we're saving up the good stuff for later, but
Well, I think that's what we always like to do, and I think we do it very well as we get better doing these things. Certainly by repetition, for sure, brute force repetition. But Manhunter is one. And the other thing I will say before we move on too far, and I think we're kind of getting closer to the caboose than not, but as we kind of stay in the caboose here. Before we walk out the door, I will say that Manhunter and also doing these things with you, it also helps kind of unlock another chain of movies or even books. I know that's happened for you and me. It happened with me where we did the Dune, and I tapped out all of the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson books. Tell me what your opinion is and why you don't like and why Brian Herbert is a better author than his father. I'm kidding. Or maybe I'm not. I don't know. But you should comment definitely and tell me how lame I am down below. But aside from that bait, you have that with that. But anyway, Thief is what that's my long-winded point of. I got that lined up ready to go. and I'm looking forward to watching it probably a little bit later in the week when I get a little bit more time, and my equipment doesn't fight me
Nice.
or gremlins eat us alive.
Absolutely, yeah. One other thing about this movie, it did have a happy ending originally. And then I think it may have just been uh they just needed to cut the movie down. They decided to cut off the happy ending, which is kind of weird that the studio
Yeah.
Paramount would do that. But but yeah, sort of like shooting themselves in the foot, I guess. Which Paramount thought they had a winner with this movie because supernatural evil Nazis, they had a big success just a year or two before with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mhm.
um a banger movie, which by the way, I'm playing the new Indiana Jones game on Xbox. I was
Oh yeah, that's right.
playing that this morning. That's a hell of a good time. I was running around punching Nazis and doing all sorts of crazy stuff in that game. So this movie kind of got me in the mood to kind of play a little bit of Indiana Jones. So
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to. You're making me want to play it, and that's always a good sign. We hit the good synergy going on. But yeah, well, like I was saying before, there are some movies that we watch, and it puts you in that mindset, that nostalgia a little bit. It reminds you of things that were forward or backward from that point. Like Indiana again with the Nazis and the whole
Mhm.
thing, and just the kind of the taste of it, like where the details don't matter too much. Unfortunately, the details do matter in this one, but that's like 10th on the list of things that went wrong that didn't because that would have naturally been snapped up and taken care of naturally if this had gotten a good
Mhm.
go, a good at least a good solid go, than what it
Mhm.
got. But it is what it is, and it's with us always, and you can own it too. I just will
Mhm.
shut that out too, and I think and I think we covered everything.
Yep.
Did you want to spin
I
back around and circle the parking lot
Yeah.
before we head out?
I'll put a little bow on things. And actually, if you wouldn't mind going to Amazon and pulling up F. Paul Wilson's The Keep, let's talk about that for just a moment. If you're kind of wondering, because the movie ends kind of on a somber note, but if you're really wanting to know what the true ending that was actually filmed for The Keep, again, the movie follows the plot and ends the same way as
Mm-hmm.
as the book. Check out the Keep by F. Paul Wilson. And F. Paul Wilson, he also it was kind of dissatisfied with the movie. He did visit the set at one point during the making of the movie, and actually walked on to the Keep itself, that stage in London that they had built up for that, which was very impressive and shows off in the first scenes of the movie where Jürgen Prochnow is walking around in that. You feel the immenseness of this keep. F. Paul Wilson, he got that sense as he walked on the set of that, and thought it was in good hands. But it is what it is, and turned out the way it is. He since kind of come to terms with the movie, but he also did a comic book adaptation of The Keep in 2006, which you may, I'm not sure how readily available that is. So if you want to try to track that down, but he says that's his version, his movie version of the if there was a movie version of it, of the Keep, that would be his version of it. So check that out. But definitely check out the novel. I read that back in the day. I'm kind of wanting to revisit that book, and maybe because
I
I
do
didn't
too.
read the whole series at that time, it may
Mm.
be interesting to kind of read the other books as well. It's a part of the adversary cycle, and also a part of his Repairman Jack series, which I'm not sure if it really ties but yeah, those are kind of his two running, big running series on that he has. But yeah, he's definitely a talented writer. He's still among us, and yeah, definitely worth checking out.
I will be absolutely reading this book for sure, and that whole series really. That sounds fascinating to me, and I'm dying. for like a good series. I'm kind of floundering around in old Heinlein cobbled together compendiums and whatnot. But all joking
Oh,
aside,
and one last thing on F. Paul Wilson. He did say
okay.
that when the movie came out, a lot of people. He said that the books sold quite well during the movie when it was released, and he said a lot of people said, I didn't know what was going on in the movie, so I bought your book to find out. So, so I guess he did get a lot of fans from the movie trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Which, if you watch the movie and are kind of in that same situation, pick up the book. You'll learn lots, and you'll learn what was going on.
Yeah, we'll only add another depth and layer, like we always say. If there's a book, you should
Hmm.
read it, check it out. And this was kind of nice.
Hmm.
This wasn't Stephen King. Uh, yeah, another Stephen King
Hmm.
directed TV kind of movie. I joke, but we love Stephen King too. Um,
Yeah.
we just don't like to watch some of his musings on other things, but that's okay. But I think we're coming up here to the end,
Hmm.
and I
I
would
think
just
so.
just say, hit us up. We got a new name on the channel. It just shortened it. Thanks to Tom at the First Last Nerdom. And I'll tell you, I'll let Tom guide us through on the goodbyes.
Yep, we got our channel. Again, if you hung around this far, you might like us, so you might like some of our other videos. So check them out. I know, you came for the horror, maybe the fantasy. We've got plenty of horror that we cover on this channel. And we cover a lot of other things. I know
Absolutely.
we gotta cast a wide net on things, so maybe to our detriment. Maybe if we focus on solely on horror, but that's not us. We like to cover everything. So yeah. But the fact that we cover everything, there may be something there for you to
Absolutely.
check out. Again, I promote our stuff on Reddit as well as X, but Reddit, I find some random subreddit that kind of caters to what we're talking about and promote it on it. And sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But yeah, if you came here and are watching, because I promoted this on Reddit, Reddit people, we appreciate you. And also, I am on X with FirstLastNerdom, and I promote our stuff there anytime we have a new video out. I try to shout it out, maybe not immediately, but I do eventually get the shout out there. So yeah, give me a follow there. And Mike, you have your socials as well.
I do. I too am on X as ApeIt, APEIT underscore Inc, ApeIt.Ink or ApeIt underscore Inc. And if you have something that you want to give me or Tom a shout out, let us know. And do the hashtag, first last nerdom. That would be great, or not, whatever. If you just catch us there. Also, my longer form publication, opinionated, heavier things, fun things, some not fun things, but everything that I like to write about or go on about that has nothing or doesn't fit quite in the main show, the main channel. But I'm also there available. And I think I was going to say, no, I think that's it. I really enjoyed the chance to see an early Michael Mann film. Even though it wasn't great at the end of the day, it still kind of gives you the appreciation for like when a rising talent is clearly almost there.
Yeah, it's sort of a yeah. Until we see like the director's cut, I won't say
Hmm.
it's a misstep. It's a misstep in its current form. It's a
Right,
flawed masterpiece, I guess you would say. Yeah, it has some glimpses of brilliance. I mean, the amazing atmosphere, the look of the movie. Some of the acting is just amazing. There's the wonderful score by Tangerine Dream, which
right,
criminally there's not been a like an official release of the soundtrack. They never got around to putting out the score to that. But yeah, there's so many elements that really work well in this movie, and I think that inspires people to be obsessed with this movie. What could have been, what there's the gems that are there that
right,
kind of snags people and they want more, but it's not there. So there's like this constant strive, and it kind of keeps the movie alive to some extent in the people's mind, and that's kind of what I think is kind of keeps the fandom around this movie. So hopefully, if we ever do get that uncut director's cut of the
We will
movie,
revisit.
hopefully that kind of pays off and gives us everything we want. If we never get it, well, hey, we have all those wonderful thoughts that we had along the way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm looking for it. Whether we get, maybe we can revisit this as a remake in the next couple years, who knows? Or, or the original material, maybe fastened together in a new way. That would be great. But either way, this will not be a miss for you if you go spend, 90 some odd minutes watching it, 96 odd minutes watching it. You won't be
Yep.
disappointed. Um, but
Yeah,
I've been Mike.
absolutely. And those people that say there's nothing new in Hollywood, there's nothing exciting. There's a lot of exciting stuff out there. You just got to know where to look. Maybe at your local boutique video company putting out cool old features of old movies. So definitely kind of we'll try to keep you on the pulse of what's new and what's exciting that's coming out as far as movies, as far as Blu-rays and releases and everything. And we've been obsessed with A24, so you probably are going to see a lot more A24 this year.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm declaring it. Happy New Year, Mike, and this is the year
Thank
of
you.
the movie for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy New Year to you too, Tom. And we'll see you soon.
See you later.